Is it just about creators on YouTube? I mean, I am seeing it on X like I've never seen it before. And I understand that one of the people involved in the drama is being paid a very healthy amount to do whatever they can to negatively, I think, kind of thwart any social media direction at their clients. I get that. And we all saw that. I did a whole live on it. And we all you have to do is watch the Lore Lodge. I challenge everybody, watch the Lore Lodge, take a look at that episode. You'll really see all you need to see. No one needs to really talk anymore.
Now, what I hear is, well, Chris and Katie are, classy people, and that they don't attack Seth, but Seth attacks them, or this and that. Okay, fine. Chris and Katie have a private investigator who claims to work for Sebastian. Yet I don't know who signs his check, but it's certainly not Sebastian, and it's not Seth. He said that on the paperwork it would be Chris and Katie. Now, I am to assume that the things that are relayed through the private investigator, the things that are relayed through him, are signed off on by Chris and Katie. I mean, the man claims that he's been paid, 15 G's as a retainer, who knows what else. And I don't know if any of that's, I don't know if that's true or not. But the reason that people claim that Chris and Katie haven't thrown any dirt at Seth is because the dirt comes from other people, from others. To me, that's the same thing. Now, the narrative that's being pushed by the private investigator, he goes into Seth's past and says things about Seth that may be true, maybe not true, maybe, skewed. And, whatever. But here's how to me, that he's not working for anybody but really himself and the people that pay him, because he's there to run their narrative. And there's enough skeletons in Chris's closet to decorate an entire Halloween shop. Now, you can say that that's attacking or that's not, whatever. I mean, there seems to be that there's a trail of destruction that Chris has left behind everywhere that he's gone. So why is it okay to use Seth's past against him, but not Chris's past? And I can guarantee you match those up and they're not even really close to the same. I'm pretty privy to a lot of the things, not pervy, but privy to a lot of the things that this man's been accused of. And I would always ask him, why do you let people do this for you or to you or in your name? I don't know why he does it. And I don't want to talk about Katie's past either. I know that, look, nobody knows anything. Nobody knows more about growing up in a dysfunctional home than I do. So, my sympathies. But at some point, we all grow up, and at some point, we're all responsible for the life that we choose and the way that we choose to act. But I would agree that Chris and Katie don't blast Seth, but they have people do it for them. That whole situation with the Freedom of Information Act, where they were like, oh, look at he worked at a pizza shop. All right, well, what do you do, dummies? You worked at it. What's wrong with working at a pizza shop? It's honest work. You pick people's lives apart. All right, fine. So then they get under oath and then they end up indicted. And I don't know if that would happen in this situation, but it sure is possible. But it's unnecessary. I think that we're so far past the point of people, people merging together. There's obviously mud slinging that's going on, and it's unfortunate. But I would just ask, what is it that is so baffling about somebody being suspicious about their child going missing on somebody else's watch, your ex-wife? Is that crazy? I don't think it is. But then, what I do think is crazy is, when the tables get turned and then, you have people dredging up things from the past, right, wrong, indifferent, or whatever, but it's not okay from the other side. Chris will tell you that he's no saint, and I'm not here to put his sins on blast and try to absolve him of his sins at all. We all make mistakes in life. That doesn't mean that he's guilty of anything. But the same things that you could say about Chris or Chris and Katie or Seth, you could say the same thing back and forth. You could do this volley all day. And it's nothing changes from it. And I'll tell you this, the big accusation, and sorry, Seth, for bringing this up, but it's been talked about over and over, is this whole, when Katie met Seth and when Seth met Katie. So that is the launching point against Seth. All right. Now, if you take that situation and you go, okay, look, you look at this situation and you go, look what happened here. And I don't even believe that narrative. There's no proof other than, dummies counting on their finger or whatever. Okay. So you have that situation and you go, okay, well, this happened. So how does this relate to Sebastian going missing? All right. So you have that. You have the thought of, when Chris and Katie started dating, or, however you want to put it. Then you have this going missing from his home. Which one seems more relevant to finding the missing child? What's more relevant? Which one takes precedent? Which lead are you going to chase? Which avenue are you going to go down? To me, it's no brainer, but that's just me. And I've been accused of being stupid. I've been accused of not knowing what I'm talking about. So it may be fine, okay? I just don't know how one situation equates to the next. I don't. And I wish I did, but I don't get it. And if somebody could explain it to me, I would love to hear that explanation. But to me, I don't think that it's really a real question. Okay, all right. When did Seth and Katie get together? Okay, that's our hard, Seth is this and that, and let's go back to before Sebastian was born. All right, great, good deal. Let's do it. Or how about we talk about the days leading up to Sebastian? Who was he with? His mother. Does that make her guilty? No. Does that cast suspicion? Of course. And if you're mad about that, then, boo-hoo. Doesn't matter. if that bothers you, that she is, not above suspicion, that Chris is not above suspicion. And certainly Seth certainly wasn't above suspicion because he got his house tossed. All right. His house was tossed because they wanted to know what was going on. I say clearly lied about, but it was more this misdirection. It was when SF was talking to Laurel, the Aiden guy from Laurel Lodge or whatever the hell the name of that show is. And he said that, it's been confirmed that Chris was at work. And then he said, well, did law enforcement tell that to you? And he goes, no. No, law enforcement doesn't talk to him. They're pretty tight-lipped, and that's probably true. But he's their attack dog. And then the people that go, well, Chris and Katie haven't done anything towards Seth. That's just not true. That's just a lie. The guy that works for them calls him a pedo every single day. You don't think that that's signed off on by Christopher Proudfoot and Katie? You don't think that they could step in and go, hey, we're not going down that road. We want to find our son. No, we're not doing that. Doesn't seem to be the move, right? Because I guess if you want to keep it classy and factual, what exactly does that have to do with anything? Is that going to, is that, that's a totally separate matter. But it's the only narrative that they have to run with, and it does not further the conversation about what happened to Sebastian, where Sebastian is, or how to find Sebastian. And it seems as though to me that there's just a few people holding this up. I don't exactly know who those few people are, but there can't be that many people that know about it. It's like one of those things, like do conspiracy, people talk about 9/11. And they go, 9/11 was an inside job, right? And then you're like, okay, well, where are all the other people that are talking about that? I don't know. They're not around. You keep that a huge secret your whole life. Do you think that this is going to be kept secret? No, I don't think so. That's the thing, I just know of the guy. I've heard some things about him from the Kylie Rodney case. I didn't think that he came off particularly well on that interview. He seemed to dance around the questions. It's sort of like what a politician would do. I noticed a lot of that, but I just didn't think that he came off looking great on it. And that's just my honest opinion. But he did seem to dodge a lot of questions, and but he's their paid asset. I mean, that's what we got to understand. That's what people have to understand. Seth has Tony, who, by the way, is not a paid asset. He's really somebody I think that just cares about Seth, and really I think they are just friends, good friends that have formed a bond. And then you have a $15,000 retained PI. What's his job? He says that his job is not to protect Katie and Chris. Then look into the things that Chris has been accused of. I don't have the proof other than eyewitness testimony, which, a lot of people like that in court. But you got to look at it from every single angle if you're an actual PI. And I would submit to you, sir, that you claim to be a PI with a license, and I'm not saying that you aren't. Just because you have a license doesn't mean you're a good driver. Just because you have a driver's license doesn't mean you deserve to have a driver's license. Just because you have a driver's license doesn't mean you're operating the vehicle that you should be. So I don't know your qualifications, but what you're saying just doesn't vibe with everything else. Okay? What you're saying is what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. We don't know what Chris and Katie are doing to search. We don't? All right. I guess we don't. I guess the best way to find missing people is to be quiet about it. Shh. Shh. Yeah. All right. You don't need a lot of help, you know. It's increasingly frustrating to know that these narratives that get spun, and this isn't even me taking up for Seth. This is me telling whoever it is that says that Chris and Katie aren't spreading misinformation or distracting information or things that matter none to this. If you have a problem with what Seth did or has done or whatever, all right, that's a separate issue. You better shelve that and take it up at another time because it doesn't have anything to do with this story. Has nothing to do with what's going on currently. Oh, it shows a pattern of, okay, then bring Chris in as well. Let's do what we need to do. How about we just compress it all side by side? Oh, no. We can't do that. Why? Because I'm paid 15 G's. Paid 15 G's. To do what? To find Sebastian. Or to kick dirt. Because that's what I think. And by the way, every single professional that has looked at this case, professional, not people like me. I'm not a professional. I'm the most unprofessional person you've ever met. Well, maybe not the most unprofessional, but it's up there. It's up there. And I mean, I would be willing to have a conversation with SF about this. If he'd be willing, because I would be curious to ask him if Seth's past is so important to the story, then why isn't Chris's? If Seth shouldn't be quote unquote trashing Chris and Katie, then why is their mouthpiece? Yeah, he's welcome. He is welcome to come on the show, but he's going to have some sort of proof of the things that he says. And I will line up the things that I would want to say, but I don't think he's interested. I don't think he's interested. Talk to law enforcement. Work with law enforcement. My question to Chris and Katie would be, when was the last time you spoke to law enforcement? When was the last time they spoke to you? And to Seth, when is the last time you spoke to law enforcement, or when is the last time they spoke to you? We could answer those questions back to back. I don't know the answer. Yeah. I don't know the answer, but you tell me. I don't know. I don't know if they are. Maybe they are. I haven't heard. That's what I'm trying to say. But you know, I just sit back and listen to this narrative that Chris and Katie are these, you know, classy, good parents that would never trash Seth. And by the way, they didn't at first, because they thought maybe that Seth would just go along with, he ran away. He just walked. I don't know why he walked out the door. How do you know he walked out the door? How do you know he wasn't carried out the door? No sign of forced entry. He's not on camera anywhere. Fell apart, and that Seth chose not to believe, or whatever it is that he does believe. Well, you don't know why he walked out the door. Did he walk out the door? Do you know something we don't? Are you just assuming? That's the first. He's never ran off before, but so that's the first time. Okay, yeah, something has to happen. Like, you have to do something that you've never done before to have it happen for the first time. Running away is quite a leap, especially for a child like Sebastian. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's highly, highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. And the fact of the matter is that there's been a narrative, and that law enforcement seems as though they may have followed it at first. And then after they checked all the boxes, they said, well, you know what? I don't see, did he run away? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. Why not? Because there's no evidence of that. There's no history of that. But let's go back and talk about when Seth and Katie finally hooked up. All right. Sure. But let's go back and talk about all the times that Chris has been drugged to court for CPS, and all the people that have emailed and said things, that they've had interactions with Chris that weren't so pleasant. I don't know if the guy's pleasant or not. I've heard him freak out a bunch. Yeah, he doesn't seem so pleasant, but maybe he is. Maybe he's a charmer. I don't know. Maybe he plays Silent Night on the piano during Christmas and wears a scarf. I don't know. I don't know the guy. But if all things are fair, how about the person that's living in the house that has had many, many run-ins with law enforcement, CPS, the military? All right. I don't know if he wears a scarf or not. I'm just saying. And honestly, I'm not even attacking the guy. I'm just saying, let's be real about this. Your narrative, well, they don't, Chris, Chris and Katie don't say anything about about Seth. They don't have to. They paid somebody to do it. Well, I don't know if they paid him. SF says that they didn't pay him, that somebody else has paid him. But SF, if you're doing your job,